Welcome back to another video. So as you would have seen from the title and the thumbnail, let's finally talk about all my 2022 statistics. So this can mean either like reading stats or my Spotify Wrapped. I'm gonna do the end of year reading survey as well. Oh, Goodreads as a staple. And what's different from my video last year is that this year I'm finally going to show my storygraph stats. You can either make your storygraph like your own personal stats tracker. You can use it as like a community and actually bond with people on storygraph, just like on Goodreads. So for me, I was kind of just too lazy to go and find all my friends on storygraph. But if you're interested, I guess I'll just leave it down below for this video only. I just used it as like a tracker for everything that I read, and so I finally have like a year wrap up to show on Storygraph, because in 2021 I first started using it then and I didn't really properly track it, which was why I didn't want to show it during that last year video. Yeah, that's what's interesting. Unfortunately, I don't know how to get the Shopee stats, because if you watched my 2021 wrap up, I actually showed my Shopee statistics. I can't remember how I got it, and I didn't get a notification for it as well, so sadly that won't be in the 2022 video. I can show you my receiptify instead for this 2022 wrap up. It's just this website that shows like your top tracks last month, last 6 months, all those kind of things. I'm not sure how accurate it is because it differs from my Spotify wrapped up, but maybe because the Receiptify kind of incorporates a different time period. So I don't know, but I'll show it to you anyway, and I will leave timestamps down below for you to go to whichever stats you want to see. Without further ado, let's start. So I think we can start with the Goodreads year in books first. I don't think I'm gonna screen record. I'll just take snapshots and then I'll just show it here. This is my 2022 year in books, this first section. So I read 50,944 pages in 2022 and a total of 147 books read, which is more than what I read in 2021. I read 104 books in 2021, and from the video I also mentioned I read 150 books in 2020, but that was mostly because of like circuit breaker and everything. I'm actually quite close this 2022, just 3 books away. I'm really surprised because 2022 it was like the year where a lot of things were opening up. COVID was becoming more of a norm. We could go back to school, we could go back to work, and we couldn't work remotely anymore. So it was like, I guess maybe the long commutes helped. The shortest book that I read was The Tea Dragon Society, total of 71 pages, and the longest book was The Toll, which is 631 pages. If I talked about a book in a particular video, it will be linked up above. I remember for The Toll, it was mentioned in my worst books of 2022 video. The Tea Dragon Society is really super cute. I finished the trilogy super quickly and it was just a super fun time. Very cozy. The tea dragons are super cute. Yeah, very cute. That's all I have to say about that. My average book length in 2022 was 346 pages, which is a little less than my average book length in 2021. My average book length in 2021 was 373 pages. The most shelved book that I read was The Picture of Dorian Gray, and the least shelved was Korean Teachers. Korean Teachers was kindly sent to me by the Instagram account Harriet Press, who is the publishing company of Korean Teachers, and they were the first to actually contact me and ask if they could send me a copy, and I was just super touched. And it's a really good book as well, so if you haven't read it, I would recommend you to pick it up, and the cover is super beautiful as well. My average rating for 2022 was 3.2, which is 0.2 lesser than that of 2021, which is not a good thing because I really want to read reads that I actually enjoy. Hopefully 2023 won't decrease any further. My highest rated on Goodreads is Your Letter with a 4.48 average, which is so well deserved. Like, please pick up Your Letter if you have yet to do so. It's really so good. It's a webtoon book and it's like 10 to 11 episodes. Super good, super fast read. It was in my best books of 2022 video. Need I say any more? Just please read it. My first review of the year was Frederick Bachman's Anxious People. This one is a little bit long. Okay, I think from here onwards I need to record my screen just because it's really super long, like too long to even try to screenshot. So yeah, this is like my review for it, and here is a glimpse of my 2022 books. Let me zoom in. Yes, just gonna scroll through. And my last review of the year was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Unfortunately, I didn't really enjoy this book. It was super hyped and stuff, but I thought it was just okay, and I will not be continuing with the rest of the books in this series because from what I understand, it's 4 books. So yeah, that first book was enough for me. Oh yeah, my reading challenge, I did fulfill it. I forgot to say at the start of the video. My original goal was 84 books and I have read 147. So that is for Goodreads. So now let's move on to Storygraph, which should reflect the same stats, but I just wanted to show it anyway because there are certain parts that are different. I am not sure why the page number is different because I really tried my best to make sure that it was the correct version that I was reading, but oh well. So this is my Storygraph reading wrap up. Apparently, according to Storygraph, I read 52,992 pages, and my first book and the last book was the same as what is shown on Goodreads. My 2022 Storygraph mood map of my reading: lighter books push the line up and darker books pull the line down. So okay, I clearly was going through a tough time in April to May. That is quite interesting. And apparently I was reading super light-hearted books in January and about December, November as well. I felt all the feels got wrapped up in intrigue and went to dark places, and most of the stories developed at a steady pace. Books and pages read per month in 2022, an up and down graph. Oh, I read the least number of books in February as well as for pages, and I read the most in December, the most number of pages. Very different from my own tracking, as you would see later on when I show you my cawpile. I think I forgot to mention that I'll show cawpile. The most number of books read was in July with 16. I met my reading goal. The genres I spent the most time with in 2022 are contemporary, young adult, fantasy, romance, and thriller, which sounds about right. It sounds like the books that I like to read. Didn't know that I read so many contemporaries in 2022. It didn't feel like it according to my own tracking on cawpile. I'm not sure how Storygraph organizes the genres actually as well, so yeah. The longest and shortest book is still the same as that on Goodreads. The average length of the books I read was the same, 346 pages, and it took me around 4 days to finish each book, with the least time spent 1 day on Fangirl Volume 1, the manga. That's interesting. I mean, the manga is like super quick to read, so I'm pretty sure it took me only like a few hours, but the 4 days to finish each book was something that I didn't track for myself, which was quite interesting to see now. The most time I spent reading a book was 18 days on The Secret History, which I talk about extensively in my worst books video. The authors I spent the most time with in 2022 are V.E. Schwab, Ali Hazelwood, and Karen Slaughter. V.E. Schwab and Ali Hazelwood are two of my favorite authors. Not so much of Karen Slaughter because I was first introduced to Karen Slaughter this year. Her books that I've read, there are only 3, so they're probably Pretty Girls, Pieces of Her, and Girl Forgotten, all of which are okay, not the best, but V.E. Schwab and Ali Hazelwood have been favorites of mine, so it's not surprising that I spent quite a lot of time with them in 2022. 2022, my average rating, according to Storygraph, which is more accurate than Goodreads because Storygraph actually allows me to track 0.5 stars and 0.25, 0.75 stars. So this is the more accurate rating. My 2022 average rating was 3.39, which is still not the best. I hope I can improve on this rating this year in 2023. They showed a few of my 2022 5-star reads, which looks so pretty, like all these legends on one shelf just next to each other like that. Oh my gosh. My 2022 ratings, the most rating that I've given to books is 3.5 stars, and the least is either no rating because I don't rate non-fiction, or 4.75 because I only rated one book 4.75. Oh my god, that's so interesting. Okay, some months were better than others. August was my highest average rating with 3.78, and February wasn't my favorite month with an average rating of 2.82. I read the most number of pages in December, 5,976 pages. I'm getting tired of just screenshotting. Let me just record this as well. Forgive my fickle-mindedness. Other Storygraph users and my 2022 reads most shelved again is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde with 211,534 users, and my rating was 1.5. But this was not included in my worst books of 2022 video because I don't think the version that I read was the correct version. The least shelved was Note to Self by Annabelle. Thanks to Time Street for sending this over to me to do review. 43 users shelved it and my rating was 3.5. I'm surprised that Korean Teachers is not on here. I'm pretty sure I did log it. Maybe lesser people shelved this on Storygraph. My highest rated read was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy with a 4.63 average rating. Well deserved. It was so good. I explored the works of 105 new authors, including T. Kingfisher, Patrick Ness, and Fiona Cho. New authors every day. 50 of the books I read were part of a series, and I revisited a total of 2 books this year. Let me just see what 2 books those are. I am confused. I think there's something wrong with this one because I don't think I put down the cartographers and picked it up again. I only reread like 1 book, which is A Magic Steeped in Poison. So I decided not to finish 21 of the books that I picked up this year. This one should be a lie because I actually revisited Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin and finished it. It's not really updated. I am not going to do a video on the books that I did not finish, but if you're interested, I can just slowly scroll through all the books that I did not finish. I'm planning to read this for an upcoming video, so I'm going to revisit it. The rest, not so much. I also revisited Notes on an Execution. So I have DNF'd it, then I picked it up again and I finished it. Yeah, that's all. I read 16 books from my own shelves this year. To be honest, I don't know whether this is correct because I keep failing to mark as own thing when I log the book. So yeah, that's on me, but hopefully my 2023 stats will be more accurate. I successfully completed 2 reading challenges. And again, here is my 2022 at a glance. So that was for Storygraph. Now let's move on to cawpile, which is a rating system created by G from Book Roast. Again, I'll link her video explaining everything as well as the version 4 video down below. But this is version 3 for 2022. I've already started using the 2023 version 4 spreadsheet. The books read per month, in total including any DNFs, is this chart over here. The total books I read this year including DNFs was 172. I wish that there was like a graph that can show both, like the books that I read this year and then a different color for books that I DNF'd, but it's in the same bar, that kind of thing. But it's okay. According to this graph, the most books that I read was in April, but that is accounting for the fact that I DNF'd 4 books in April. So in comparison, July is still the month wherein I read the most number of books because I only DNF'd 1 book. The pages read per month. According to my tracker, the most number of pages that I read in a month was in July with 5,636 pages, and the least was in November with 2,905 pages. So the total pages that I've read this year is 52,511, and the total hours I listened to this year was 782. The development tool, because I went from not reading any audiobooks in 2020 to reading some in 2021, and now I'm reading so many books via audiobook in 2022. Now we have an hours listened per month graph as well, with the most hours listened in April with 98.5 and the least in October with 30. Total DNFs was 25. I forgot to mention that. Main reasons for DNFing, with 9 books for low intrigue, followed by annoying characters, which makes up 16%. We'll try another time with 12%, and general apathy with 12% as well. The main language that I read in was 99.4% English and 0.6% Mandarin. My reading method was 46.5% mixed media, followed by 25% ebook, then 22.7% physical, and last but not least 5.8% audiobook. This is wow, because I really embraced the act of either reading the ebook and the physical book, or reading the ebook, physical book, audiobook together, or the ebook and the audiobook, things like that. And it's just, mixed media is the best way to go. I'm really happy about the physical because I actually have been reading more physical books, mostly because of Times Reads, I would imagine, as well as I hope that it was because I've been reading a few of my books on my shelves. That's definitely a goal that I have in 2023, which is to read more of my own books before going to the library and borrowing more. The main genres that I've read are, with 25.6%, fantasy, followed by 20.3% romance, 15.7% contemporary, and 13.4% mystery. Last but not least, 5.8% sci-fi. I read across 12 different genres. Book length, the most is 350 to 400, followed by 300 to 350. Book format, I read 90.1% via novels and 5.8% via graphic novels. The rest are too small to make out. I read 13 translated books, 53.8% were translated from Japanese and 46.2% were translated from Korean. I really love Japanese literature a lot. Korean literature is quite good as well, but I really prefer Jap lit. Star ratings, so we have two different graphs over here. One is the without 0.5s and one is with 0.5s. So the most rating that I gave, I'll look at the 0.5 one, is 3.5 followed by 4, then 3 stars. Age category, oh my gosh. So in 2021, I read 45% adult, and in 2022, I read 58.1% adult. So it's like super interesting to me because I remember when I was like 19, I was telling my friend how, I didn't want to start reading adult books. I really love young adult so much, and without even being conscious about it, I've just gradually drifted away from the genre because it just doesn't apply to me anymore, and I find myself enjoying more adult books, and it's just so fascinating because I really didn't want to at the point in time, but now I'm just being gravitated towards adult books. So 33.7% were young adult books. I still read them, it's just not as much. Followed by 5.2% middle grade and 1.7% new adult. Publication year, the most that I've read was actually published in 2022, 42.4%. I imagine this is probably because of Times Reads, and I like to borrow audiobooks that are published in 2022, followed by 2021, 15.7%, and then 2020, 13.4%. So it's kind of like the more recent books. LGBTQ plus rep, sadly 47.4% absent, but it's already an improvement from the 2021 video because that one was 62% absent. So we are getting there. And the breakdown is over here with 26.3% gay, 26.3% sapphic, and 18.8% bi. Disability rep, I don't think I logged it in 2021, but I logged it for 2022. Absent is 63.4%. It's something that I'm trying to work on, but I feel like I don't really want to go specifically hunting for that representation. It's just I hope to read more of it in a sense. The breakdown is 22.6% physical. I have 2 physicals. Oh my god, that's so dumb of me. I am so sorry. I will update again. I will go and update the graph, and then hopefully the reflected one will be here. How I got it, 81.4% was from the library, 8.7% owned, and 7.6% gifted. Rereads, I read 98.8% of the books for the first time with a 1.2% reread. Series or standalone, I read 69.2% standalone and 30.8% series. I started 29 series, read 9 sequels, and finished 10 series. Series has kind of slowly not been my thing anymore. I tend to DNF really quickly now, especially for series if I feel like I'm not gonna enjoy it, and I prefer reading standalones, I guess, but that's not to say that I don't like any kind of series. I just kind of prefer standalones. Authors, I read 33.5% POC authors and 2.4% unknown. I cannot find anything about them. Breakdown is 68.4% Asian, followed by 14% Black and 3.5% Latino and North African each. Written by 80.8% women, 14.5% men, and 3.5% non-binary. 39.6% were own voices, and the number of books per author is on this super packed pie chart. Total different authors read was 146. Nationality, 56.2% were American, followed by British 6.8%, Korean 5.6%, Japanese 4.3%, Canadian 4.3%, and Swedish 1.2%. I mostly read from new authors, 70.3%, and 29.7% authors that I've read from before. Then this is just an analysis that I did per month. January 3.55, February 2.82, March 2.91, April 3.13, May 3.57, June 3.43, July 3.72, August 3.77, September 3.4, October 3.7, November 3.25, and December 3.64. So that was cawpile. Now let's move on to my end of year reading survey questions. I'll leave the questions and creator down below as well if I can find. The first question: how many books did I read? 147. Did I meet my goal? Yes, 147 out of 84. My most read genre was fantasy, as you have seen. The longest and shortest books that I've read, I'm just gonna show that picture again. Longest was The Toll, shortest was The Tea Dragon Society. My favorite book published in 2022 was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Really super good read and so heartbreaking, and I'm so proud of her accomplishments and herself. Favorite debut book in 2022 is also I'm Glad My Mom Died, but also A Magic Steeped in Poison was one of my favorite debut books in 2022. Favorite book not published this year is definitely Lonely Castle in the Mirror. I think it was published in 2019. If I am wrong, I'll correct myself on screen. A book that lived up to the hype was Style A for Aunties. Really super funny. I couldn't stop laughing. A book that did not live up to the hype, however, was A Secret History. Everybody loves this book, apparently except for me. The book that felt like the biggest accomplishment was The Toll, the longest book that I've read this year as well. My favorite characters are Victor from Vicious, and Rocky from Project Hail Mary, and Chauncey, an unidentifiable green blob who wants to be a hotel bellhop when he grows up. My least favorite characters are Andrea Oliver's mom in Pieces of Her, Jeanette McCurdy's mom in I'm Glad My Mom Died, and Tella, Scarlett's sister in Caraval, and last but not least, Sadie from Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, because she really irked me so much. I mean, they all irked me, but Sadie especially, I was like, oh my god. The most shocking book or moment, the end of Thunderhead, Still Alice, towards the end, the ending, Home Before Dark, the review, Stay Awake, also the review, when Rocky was introduced in Project Hail Mary. My favorite couple or OTP, Jasmine and Ivan in From Lufkov with Love, and January and Augustus in Beach Read. The best written book I've read this year are The House in the Cerulean Sea, Beach Read, and Vicious. The book that I pushed most people to read in 2022. I honestly don't know how to answer because I don't think I have ever pushed people to read anything, so I really don't know, but I would say that the book that I keep talking about is Lonely Castle in the Mirror. My favorite book covers of the year: A Magic Steeped in Poison, Lonely Castle in the Mirror, The House in the Cerulean Sea, and Korean Teachers. Super pretty book. My favorite book adaptation, I almost didn't have an answer for this one, but then I watched Matilda the musical that came out. I really liked it, and I'm not sure why people have been saying that it's not nice, because maybe they thought that it was too cruel for children to watch. They preferred the movie version or something like that. But I really liked the musical. What book made me cry the most? The House in the Cerulean Sea.
Flashback. End of flashback.
Lonely Castle in the Mirror, and Tales from the Cafe. What book made me laugh the most? Style A for Aunties, Philly Donovan is Killing It, and Project Hail Mary. A new favorite author that I discovered this year is Toshikazu Kawaguchi, who is the author of the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, and Neil Schusterman, who is the author of the Scythe series. Although this one might not be technically a good answer because I read Scythe in 2021. What is the best non-fiction book that I read in 2022? I'm Glad My Mom Died, and 17A Kyung-sik Road. Okay, that's all for the reading review, the end of year reading survey. Let's go and show you my Spotify Wrapped. Okay, this year I ventured into the genre-verse. I explored 44 different genres. I'm a little astronaut. My top genres are all pop, K-pop, Mando pop, pop, Korean pop, and Chinese viral pop. Oh, this year was a little bit different because of this. There is this: my morning started with dramatic, comforting, good vibes. I seized the day with motivation and positive joy, and I embraced the night with comforting and Hallyu dramatic. All that listening added up, my total playtime was 48,614 minutes, and that's more than 92% of other listeners in Singapore. I listened to one particular song. My top song was 意外. This is the OST to this C-drama called You Are My Hero, and I played it 34 times with the most listens on October 11, 2022. I played 2,074 songs, but these played again and again and again. My top songs are 意外. I can't remember how to pronounce this. 乌鸦 by Jun. The second song was by Ren. Do Re Mi by 17, and Everest with Sam Kim by Akmu. I listened to 1,798 artists, but my top artist this year was 17. We spent 2,860 minutes together, and I was in the top 2% of 17 listeners this year. And I couldn't stop listening to Do Re Mi. My top artists: 17, IU, Lauf, ATEEZ, and Onyu. My listening personality is the nomad. ENLU, exploration, newness, loyalty, and uniqueness. I'm a sonic explorer who listens far and wide, but once you find a song or artist you love, they're with you always, kind of like a musical souvenir. And yeah, that's all. Last but not least, receiptify. So last month should be for December. These are the list of songs that I've listened to the most, and then my top artists, my top genres. It's all like pop. Oh, there's one boy band. There's Chinese R&B, interesting. Then let's go to last 6 months. Singaporean pop, interesting. My top tracks. And then all time. There's more 17 here now, that's good. Top artists and top genres. Okay, and with that, we have finally reached the end of this video. If you're still watching, comment a present emoji because it's like wrapped, right? I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel for more of such videos. I hope you're having a great day or a great week whenever or wherever you're watching. Remember to stay hydrated. I think we are finally reaching the end of the wrapping up 2022. Almost there. So yeah, please continue to be patient with me, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video.